Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So a bunch of you asked, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on WWE 2K22. It's been a couple days now since I've had it. I've played a bit of it, played through some of the MyRise stuff, and I'm here to give you my general thoughts on the game. Now keep in mind, I am not an avid gamer by any stretch of the imagination. Even though I came up doing gaming-centered content, I play like a small handful of games. But I know a lot of you might be on the fence as to whether or not to get 2K22, especially after the debacle that was WWE 2K20. So I figured I'd give you guys my general thoughts and maybe help inform your decision as to whether or not to buy the damn thing. I guess just as an overview, just to get this part out of the way, I like the game. I think it was worth buying it. Yes, I would say buy it if you're into games like that. This is not 2K20. That game was a massive pile of shit, and it's kind of difficult to even use that as like a yardstick, like saying, "Oh yeah, the graphics are better, the gameplay is better." I mean, that's easy to do. I mean, that game was basically unplayable, and so the reference I'm going to be using is more sort of the previous decent iterations of 2K games, like 2K19, which wasn't terrible. It had its fair share of issues, but, we were fine playing 2K19. We were okay with that. This, in my opinion, is a massive step up even for that. Now, keep in mind a couple things. I have this game on the PS5. That's not a flex. Shout out to J-Mart, who was able to get me a PS5. He didn't get it. He got it. I paid him for it. But I had kind of a hookup, I guess. One of our awesome friendos was able to get a PS5 from me because I had no idea how to do it. Apparently, they're still really difficult to come across, which is weird. So yes, my experience is might be a little bit, I don't know, how would you say, different? If you're going to be playing this on the PS4. I don't know what it's like on the PS4 because I don't even have one set up anymore because I got a PS5. I'll stop saying that. Anyways, so yeah, like it's probably better there. I saw, I think Chris from Tiger Driver posted a video, it was like a comparison, like the load times on the PS4 versus the PS5. And it was ridiculous just how quicker the PS5 is compared to the PS4. So I mean, I'll just throw that out there. On the PS5, the load screens are very fast. Does not take a lot of time to load anything, and the game is pretty damn smooth. So we'll just start off there, I guess. We'll start with the graphics. Graphics are amazing. They look great. The 2K20 renders were absolutely atrocious. Even the 2K19 renders weren't great. They weren't bad, but they weren't great. These ones, 2K22, holy shit. If you blur your eyes, some of this, especially the entrances, how they have like the steady cam, they look amazing. They look absolutely fascinating. The crowds look great. The venues look great. All that stuff just looks really, really spectacular. The depth of field, that all looks absolutely stellar. And yes, I've got some notes down here that I keep on looking down at, so now you'll notice that. Next up, let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay is, again, much better than what we had previously, be it 2K20 or 2K19 or 18 or whatever. It's just a little bit on the sluggish side if you're a bigger character. I went and played some Rey Mysterio versus like Austin Theory last night, and it's the smaller the character, the faster the gameplay is for that character. So that kind of makes sense. But then I was playing as like a super hoss, and it just comes off as extra sluggish, a bit more than you'd think it would be. That's not to say the gameplay isn't solid. It's a solid foundation for what hopefully will be a continuation of the 2K series. I know there's been some chatter about WWE possibly leaving 2K, but all in all, the gameplay is a solid foundation. Are there glitches and bugs still where people are phasing through each other? Are the collision physics perfect? No, they're not. Hopefully that'll get better with time, but by and large, it is a decent gameplay experience. It's a better than average gameplay experience. Is it perfect? No, not everything can be WWF No Mercy for the N64. But it is at very least on par with the best of the previous 2K series, probably a couple steps above it, to be honest with you. There are some new features, and it's kind of interesting because they specifically designed this, like according to the devs, they specifically designed it to be palatable, to be playable by people who like to just mash buttons and people who like the precision aspect of like combos, for example. And it is actually a very finely walked line between the two. And it's actually kind of impressive that they've been able to manage both sides of that, the people who just like to mash buttons and the people who like the precision combos. So kudos to them for that. Give credit where it's due. In terms of the control, the gameplay stuff, it's actually fairly intuitive. There are some changes that they have implemented, but those changes are really not so drastic that it's difficult to get into the game the first time you pick it up. Let's talk about the reversals for a second, because the reversals is sort of a big change from what it was before. They want you to go back to the previous way of doing things, which is a lot of dodging and ducking and diving and dodging. Basically, they want you, if somebody's trying to grapple you, to get out of their way for defense. And if they're trying to punch you, they want you to block it, which is how a lot of, obviously, fighting games do it. And I kind of like that. I'm getting used to that. The more I play it, the more I'm like, okay, cool. Like, you know, it seems more, I don't know, it levels the playing field a bit more, because if somebody's just really good at just hitting that reverse button in the previous iterations, it gets a bit redundant. It gets a bit repetitive. Some of the matches Larson and I used to have over at Going in Raw just went on way too long because we'd be able to reverse each other's moves so easily. This requires a bit more strategy involved, and I think it allows a little bit more sort of momentum-based matches, which is kind of how wrestling works anyways. So that was a kind of interesting switch that I'm still getting used to, but I think I'm going to like it in the long run, that switch over from just like strict reversals. So that's cool. And then there's also a new way, although I thought I remember hearing I forgot to look this up, that you can change it back to the way it was before, where you just have to mash the button. You have to mash the X button to kick out of something. I don't know if I like that as much as the previous iteration, which was more of a mini game, because in the mini game, it made for some really thrilling kickouts. Like if you're able to hit the little thing as soon as it got to that little sliver of green, you kick out and it's like, holy shit, that was cool. You kicked out like barely at 2, and it made for some pretty impressive gameplay like we used to do back in the day. This is just like mashing buttons. And if you've had your ass handed to you, there's no way to, kick out miraculously, which I kind of liked before. So I don't know if I like that better or worse. It's not that big of like a change. I mean, it is a big change, but in the overall scheme of things, it really doesn't matter that much. So one thing I should mention, I did not play the GM mode. I figure that it's a pretty standard GM mode like that. From what I understand, the titles, you only do like the main title and the tag titles, not a lot of customization there. So I didn't do any of the GM stuff. Larson and I might dig into it. Maybe we'll see if we have time for it. It wasn't, I'll be honest, I know a lot of people love the GM stuff. It never really came off as all that compelling to me personally, or to Larson. So like we really only played it on SmackDown versus Raw 2006 or 7 like once. And then we're like, yeah, it's not really our thing. So I didn't play any of that. I did play some of the MyRise though. We could talk about that. I appreciate immediately in MyRise, as opposed to like, for example, the last couple of career modes, there's a lot more personality. It's not just telling a lame story with a bunch of cutscenes. It is much more sort of decision based and personality based, and I like that it's got a little bit of kick to it. Your character can be a complete asshole, which as anybody who's been following me over at the Twitch MF Steve here, and I'll probably be dumping some of that stuff over here as well. It's fun. It's fun to be an asshole in the game. Steve Thunder is really a locker room cancer, if you will. So that's kind of cool. You're in the performance center for a lot less time than previous iterations of my career, which I appreciate. Also, you're sort of taking on, your trainers of Shawn Michaels and Road Dogg if you're a guy, and probably I think Beth Phoenix if you're a gal. I just went with the male wrestler route to kick things off because Steve Thunder He's a dude. So yeah, and then you get like classmates at the Performance Center you're sort of coming up with, and then you get to choose whether or not to go to NXT, SmackDown, or Raw, which is all kind of interesting. And then it sort of follows familiar storylines that we've seen. For example, one of the first things you do is you enter in the Mixed Match Challenge, and then you have to deal with Roman Reigns and him sort of, his overbooked matches where he's got to use one of the Usos to win. That's where I'm at right now. I'm sure there's a lot more wrinkles along the way and a lot more story beats to hit. But so far, I like it. So far, it feels, I don't know, it feels organic, it feels genuine, it feels pretty good. So MyRise, I give a thumbs up. And yeah, between I just started the showcase mode last night, which is a pretty cool Rey Mysterio thing. And then I haven't even touched the universe mode because why would I? Sort of just like the basics of the game, the character creation stuff is awesome. That's one thing I liked about MyRise is you were able to fully customize your character from the get-go. It wasn't so much of a grind just to get to the point where you can get like a new pair of trunks. This you could do from the beginning, and I really like that. The character creation stuff, I love that you can have it's little details like your custom renders, like when you're going through the menu screen, you can upload the picture that you use for the menu screen. It's not just like a picture of your dude. So I like those little details, and I haven't noticed much of a difference from the previous character creation stuff. In that, you can make some goofy ass looking characters. You could do the photo import. It gives you a wide variety of customization utilities for like your outfits and stuff. So yeah, I'd like that too. I mean, that's going to be important for whatever it is I do over here at the channel or wherever we do over there going in Raw. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Obviously it doesn't have like this shit that I like back in like 2K14, which was like custom stories. That was cool. Or was this WWE 14 back then? I think 15 is when it started. Could be wrong about that. So anyways, if the question is, should I buy this game? I'm on the fence. If you enjoyed the previous iterations of 2K going back to like 15, 16, 17, the better versions of 2K, if you like those, then yeah, I would suggest you pick it up. It's not that much of a departure, and it sort of improves on a lot of things, and it has a new gameplay foundation. The renders look good. So yeah, I would say, yeah, go ahead and get it. If you're not into wrestling games at all, then why would you even consider getting it? Like, just spend your money on something else, like shoes or something. So yeah, I give it a thumbs up. For what it's worth, if you're like, oh man, I really wanted you to talk about universe mode. Sorry, it's not really my thing. I'm sure there's plenty of other videos out there that do that. Check out one of these other videos here, though. If you're done with this one, go over there. No dog today. She's depressed because Lacey's at work. So anyways, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you over there.